Hey, what's up, everybody?
What's going on?
Joe, you're sick. You're supposed to be sick right now. What's going on?
Joe is super because he don't feel good and he's still here with us today. So, round of applause to Joe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe, for joining us.
Yeah,
No doubt the show must go on, right?
that's right.
Yes.
So if y'all hear me coughing, you're gonna have to excuse me. But
Exactly.
yeah, I'm working through it best I can.
Yes. He's a real MVP, y'all.
Yes. We're so happy that you put your sickness aside
Yes.
for the group.
No question about
Yes.
it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
How was your week going?
It was good. I only worked 3 days this week, so I was happy. It was a short week.
Oh, you fancy.
Yes. 3 days. I can get used to that. But, mama got to pay the bill. So,
But so much you gotta save them vacation days for the important stuff.
exactly. What about you?
I'm just trying to finish up these classes. Blah blah blah. But I did make a second set of waist beads that I'm excited about.
Nice, 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 nice.
You made them?
What?
You say you made them?
Yes, I handmade with my own intentions and purpose into there.
Right, handmade those beads, so that means they fit like a snug, custom made.
Yes. The ones I made last week actually moved down a lot, so I had to make a new set for the new waist size.
That's right.
That's what's up. That's gold right there.
Mm-hmm.
My week was sickly. It's been coughing and coughing and coughing. Yeah, but like I said, I'll be all right. Just working through it.
Yeah, you gotta work through it.
I've been relaxing and got a nice little support system around me, so everybody's been looking out. So it's been pretty cool.
Good.
But it's important. Team is important. It's
Right.
super important to have people that's gonna take care of you and make sure everything is in order.
Right.
I've
been getting a lot of phone calls and text messages, and it's been pretty cool.
That's what's up.
MelBee's tea and a cup of Joe forever.
Yes, heart.
It's bump.
All right.
So what do y'all think about this whole Jada and Will Smith situation that got the internet right now?
Oh my God. Where do we begin? Go ahead, Joe. I want to hear your take on it.
I just found it very hilarious the words that Jada was using to describe certain situations. Like she was like, I was so happy to give joy to someone else. And she said it was just so many words, like this deep, she's like this deep joy that I just was able to give man, she was just hilarious, man. I was like looking at Will like he like motherfucker, like, oh my God, I can't believe she over here just saying this stuff. Like he looked like he was hurt and mad. He had like many emotions all in his face. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, in real talk though, if y'all separated and that's the idea, because you made it clear, like he said, I was so done with you. So when you say I was so done with you, and y'all go your separate ways, you can't get mad about what she do, like she can't get mad at what you do. And if y'all ended up getting back together, then that's what it is. But that's a part of the process. Unless y'all agreed y'all wasn't going to do that, then that'd be different. But if you said I was so done with you, and then you let her go do her thing, and you're doing your thing, and if something like this comes up later on, then you can't really be mad about anything, really.
Even when you're married, you feel like in a marriage, if a person says, we're going to separate for a little while, do you think that's like it gives you the green light to just date other people or have sex?
It could. I mean, and like I said, I mean, I think in their relationship, because it's been long rumored that they had an open marriage. So I think, and in their sense of mind, in their mind, that they probably was doing that, or in a sense already. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what's been keeping their marriage going.
Right.
That's why when you see them on that kind of platform and is talking about it so easily, so loosely, just to have a conversation where anybody else, it would have just been an all-out war and a breakup. That showed you the level of they're on a whole different level.
They are on a whole different level. What do you think, Mel?
I think, to be honest, I feel like Jay and Jada, I call her Jay, like she's my homegirl. I feel like Jada and Will have like an open relationship, you know, and it's a lot of stuff that probably goes on behind closed doors. But I feel like Will is trying to just save his image, you know. So I feel like he kind of forced her or influenced her to you know, make it public and make a statement so that he doesn't look bad. But I feel like they've been married for 25 years. Her behavior, his behavior is nothing new. Right.
No question about it. How about you, B?
I'm indifferent because I kind of feel like they did it for publicity. So I don't know. I'm just like, I feel like that type of stuff, like in a marriage, even if I was famous, even if someone came out and said, "Oh, I had an affair with Brandy and blah blah blah," and I was a celebrity, I would not want to discuss that in front of the world. I wouldn't want to make my husband feel small. I wouldn't want, the memes, all of that that's going on right now. I'm pretty sure their household is upside down. And at the end of the day, is it worth it? If she truly found happiness in her entanglement, then I mean, it's right into our topic today. Like, can someone else really make you happy? And I don't think so. I think happiness is within. So if she did it once because she was quote unquote not happy, then she may do it again. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Even if they have an open relationship, it was like kind of messy to me. Like.
Yeah, especially if it had been 4 years ago. That's long.
Right. And like with all the money that you guys have, you couldn't have all this time like a gag order or whatever they call it, but they got to keep their mouth shut. I feel like they wanted it to get out. I feel like she, wanted it to get out because she probably doesn't feel as beautiful and popular like she used to. She was like the #1 girl.
Yeah.
And you fade in the back. Your husband's doing his thing. Your kids got their career going, and all she had was that red table. So it is what it is. Everybody goes through trouble, but they got money, so please.
Right.
It's like it's a different type of issue. Like if I went through it, or you, like the regular person.
Yeah, it'll be a wrap, and there'll be a whole lot of issues.
Exactly. But in my opinion, I would just stay with the marriage. It doesn't make sense to leave 25 years. Why leave?
Right.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know why he decided to come out with it, but that he's a young dude, so he got caught up, and then Jada pulled him in her little web and got the little fly in there, and now he all wide open.
Yeah.
And now
she put that
hurt.
Yeah, she wrapped them yoga legs around him and.
Man, he was open.
Both hands.
He ain't stand a chance.
Shit.
Yeah, he was getting used.
Exactly.
For a deep soul search.
Exactly. Her soul searcher. Like, he was sick. If he's sick, why is he wasting all his energy pumping on you? Like, what the fuck? Like, that didn't even make any sense. She got that healing vagina like Erykah Badu.
She said it was deep. It was deep healing.
They got that healing vagina.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, right. we still have a guest this week. His name is Nkrumah, and he has a couple of books out. You're right, Joe?
I'm hanging in there. Good.
All right. Well, he has a couple of books out. One of them he's going to discuss today. That is more about, it's directed towards Black women, about self-love. And I'll just bring him on so he can talk to us.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey everybody, thank you for having me on.
What's going on?
Not much, not much.
All right. Nice having you on the show, man.
Yes, thank you for coming on.
Right. Tell us about your what's going on.
Say it again.
I'm sorry. Tell us about what you got going on. Your social media and everything you set up.
Man, I got so much going on. Everything that I do is centered around healing and repair in the Black community. So it's so much. It's so much that's going on, man. We got to get a little more specific because it's real broad. Because I got my hands in almost everything.
Okay.
Well, tell us about your book. Love Your. I don't want to mispronounce the title, but it's the book that you wrote that's directed towards Black women and self-love.
Yes, Love Your Naked Self. That wasn't hard to pronounce, right?
I just didn't want to mix up the title.
Oh, nah, it's all good. It's 7 different books, so sometimes people confuse some of them. But the Love Your Naked Self, it was just something that I just looking at the state of Black people, period, not understanding who we are, and just always giving into European standards, whether it's quote unquote professionalism or whether it's beauty standards, and just seeing how much our women are berated and not appreciated in their natural, in their naturalness, in their nakedness, and feeling like they have to have on a full face of makeup before they can leave the house, feeling like they have to have a weave, feeling like they have to have a certain shaped body. And I wanted to do something for Black women to help them to peel back those layers and see themselves as beautiful naked. Just, I do a lot of speaking, and that's actually my first, profession is as a speaker before a writer. And in the middle of one of my speeches, I just asked a question because stuff just comes to me sometimes. And the question was, what are you worth naked? What is your value? What is your internal value? That's nothing to do with what you have on, nothing to do with your money, nothing to do with any prestige. What value do you bring to people? Just period. If you are naked, what can you do that bring people value? And then that question just began to snowball. And it's actually a whole chapter on naked worth in that book. But that question, what are you worth naked, is what started the idea that created the book of Love Your Naked Self.
That's what's up. How long have you been had this idea? Like how long have you been in the game doing it?
What, for writing?
Yeah, for writing and just
I wrote my first book about 8 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I pretty much written a book a year.
Yeah, congratulations.
No, thank you.
So what inspires you to write about Black women? Is it how you were raised or just what you see going on in the community?
Well, again, my life's work is all around mental, emotional, spiritual, cultural, and financial repair for Black people. So everything is repairing the Black psyche. If you go to my website, that's what's on there. Repairing the Black psyche, because our psyche has been and still is being attacked day in and day out to try to make us feel less than, or our motherland feel less than, and again, our nakedness, our naturalness feel less than. So I'm always trying to help Black men, women, and children. It's just at this moment in that juncture, I wanted to do something that was specific for Black women. There are a lot of self-help and self-love stuff out there, but it's not specific. It's like I don't feel like you can have a broad self-love book that can actually fully deal with what Black women go through, because those broad books are going to be dealing with white women. And if we're not going to deal with white women trying to hold themselves as a standard over Black women, then how can we truly deal with everything that Black women have to deal with? So we have to have something that's not going to be speaking to the white woman, not going to speak to the Asian woman, but it's going to speak directly to the Black woman, because everybody else, every other race, they celebrate and esteem their culture. They celebrate and esteem their differences. But when it comes to us, it's like everything about us is wrong. Your nose is too big, your lips are too big. So I wanted something that spoke specifically to Black women and all of the things that they deal with.
Yes, I really applaud you on that because it's about time, especially now with everything that's going on in the media, politics, and the riots. I feel like this is like the perfect time to be pushing this positivity because Black people, like you said, we have it all screwed up in our heads. Like we don't really have like a go-to, like a standard. We just gravitate to everything else and try to make it our own, and it doesn't work for us. So I really applaud you, and I'm happy that you're out there and you're pushing this work. Especially Black women, we need that support. We need that reassurance. We need that love and that support, especially from our Black men. So I definitely applaud you for that.
Yeah, and then also another thing is, also me internalizing. I do a lot of introspection and recognizing that I have been a part of the problem. Being brainwashed and conditioned like everybody else. I have been a part of making some Black women feel as if they aren't beautiful in their natural state. So I wanted to allegorically dig up those negative seeds that I've sown also, and then plant some positive seeds.
That's what's up. Yeah, Mel, you gonna say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say I did get a chance to kind of skim through your book, and what I admired initially about it was your apology to Black women, and basically telling us that you apologize on behalf of all Black men, most Black men, for just making us feel less than, because naturally women, we tend to kind of compare ourselves to other women, and if men are kind of more attracted to a certain type, then we start to feel like it's something wrong with us, something wrong with our hair, something wrong with our body shape, like you mentioned. And I feel like most of the time men will say, oh, I like my woman natural, but then when they are, we don't feel admired or sought after as much as like with the whole 50 Cent thing, with him saying that he prefers women to be exotic. Like I feel like that's something that Black women struggle with a lot. And learning how to love who we are regardless of if men are going to be attracted to us or not, I think is the strongest struggle.
Right.
Yeah, and that's like some of the chapters really I think this the second chapter is don't get trained out of loving you. And that's the thing. See, when you're born loving your naked self. If you have I have a 3-year-old and 5-year-old nieces that just don't like clothes, like they just be naked all the time. It doesn't matter who's there, they don't care. They're comfortable in their naked skin. But as we continually tell them, put clothes on, put clothes on, put clothes on, put clothes on, eventually they'll become uncomfortable in what they were once comfortable in.
Right.
And that's what happens to us. So since other people trained us out of loving ourselves, we then begin to look towards everybody else for that validation. So we're doing the work through the book in order for you to get away from that validation. So also another chapter, the fourth chapter is who is the notary public of your life? Who stamps you? Who validates you? If men validate you and men have the stamp, then men can tell you when you're beautiful or when you aren't. But when you take that stamp and you validate yourself, like I wake up every day feeling handsome. I don't care what nobody says about me. You can't tell me nothing. I got a unibrow and everything. People are like, you don't cut that because I think my unibrow is sexy.
Exactly.
And I don't care what none of y'all say about it. That's how I feel about me.
Yep.
So my thing is, other women get to that point. Like, yeah, some people aren't going to like something about you. You gotta love it. Right. They're going to talk about a specific part of you, but you gotta love it. And that's just that.
Right. So do you get input from women, or are you just using it all based upon your personal experiences and things you learned?
I talked to a ton of women before I wrote that book.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I talked to a ton of women. Like when I first started the whole naked worth thing, I had put something up on social media just to get some feedback, and then that's how it just because it wasn't my idea to write the book. Like that just came from talking to all of these different women, hearing all of these different issues, and then talking to some women that I'm close with who are counselors, getting some ideas from them, and then all of that became the book.
All right, that's good. So what's the new projects you got, or what's
Ask the question, Joe. Go ahead.
What you get? What's your new project?
What I was gonna say.
Go ahead, now.
Oh, I was just gonna give props to the book. Like what I like about the book is it's actually a workbook. I like to work. I like to write things down. I like to, keep journals and stuff. And what I like about your book, Love Yourself Naked, was the fact that you're not just talking to the reader or speaking at the reader. You're actually giving them things to work on and to reflect on. Like you mentioned, you're introspective. You have that personality. I do too. And so I like things that I can, track my progress. Like how I felt about something 6 months ago, I might feel completely different a year from now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I like that you have that incorporated in the book.
Thank you.
I need to definitely check it out.
So what was your question, sister?
What was your question?
Oh, I didn't have a question.
Because you mentioned before that you had to apologize, or you felt like you were part of the problem. Was that because you were dating outside your race, or were you like clowning? Where are you from? Let me ask. Where are you from?
I'm from Philly.
Okay, Philly. So it's probably pretty diverse. A lot of interracial dating, I would say, out in Philly. Like, where you from? Or is it predominantly Black?
Predominantly, well, it's getting gentrified now. So I grew up; it was predominantly Black. Right now, it's changing.
Okay, so what kind of women did you date back then?
What kind of women did I see?
Date. Spanish, white.
So, all right. So I've never dated outside my race. I can't even couldn't wrap my mind around that. So no. But I mean, from a 3, 4, 5 year old, like I always like light women.
Okay.
Now, even I'm very dark. My mother is extremely light. So Sigmund Freud would say that psychologically, I want a woman that's like my mom. But I know it's a lot more than that. And then in my family, everybody is like somebody's dark, somebody's light. Like all of my aunts and uncles are like that. Somebody's light, somebody's dark. So that was normal to me. But still, I feel like I wrote a book on self-hate also. So I never want to try to diminish that part. So I feel like it still was, even though, my mom is light, those different things, I feel like it's still a component where I was watching videos and watching movies and everything and seeing the light woman is the one who is praised as the prettiest one. And I still feel like that had some kind of effect on me. So I felt like I had to ask I read a Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome by Dr. Joy DeGroot. And when I finished reading her book, it made me question everything about myself. Like everything that I like why do I like this? Why is my favorite color blue? Like literally, I really started going that deep. And so I just live every day like, why? Because the white man has conditioned us and controlled every area of human activity, everything that goes into our mind, everything that goes into our psyche. They have their hands in shaping everything that we believe. And so her book really helped me to just go back like, all right, why do I like this? And why do I like this? And why do I like that? A lot of times I might not have an answer, but I don't just allow myself to just like things willy-nilly. In particular, if what I like or what I dislike has something to do with Africa or African people. You know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to apologize because I know there were like times in my life where I'm like, I don't like dark girls. And I would say that. Now, it's one thing to like them or just be attracted to them, but the fact that I articulated it is problematic. And so I felt like I needed to be a part of the apology because a lot of Black women don't receive, well, men either, but we just specifically to my Black women right now, I just don't receive an apology at all. And they've been dogged out and treated and talked about and everything. And I just wanted to make sure that at least one time that they can get an apology.
Okay.
That's what's up. So I got just one more question for you. So like, what's your new project? What's your new thing that you're motivated to do now?
Well, right now in the Philadelphia area, we are working in a specific space of really creating a community. We just started our farm, so that's our very first project is being able to feed ourselves. You know, if at any time they shut the markets down or anything else, we can't eat. You know,
Right.
so that's the first thing we got. We have our farm up and running. We're starting our rites of passage program with the men. Then we're going to double back and do that with the women. But we're putting building our own businesses all in a specific area, and we're really like creating like a smaller version of the Black Wall Streets that were spread across the country. So that's our project right now, creating a self-sustaining Black community within Philadelphia, and then stretching it out from there.
Can I just add one thing, because y'all know I'm into politics, and you know, like that Black Wall Street, that's one of the things that I was discussing on my page. That, you know, I know Black Lives Matter is important. I hear a lot of feedback. I'm sorry. I know Black Lives Matter is important. I know all of these issues are important, but what you just said is a solution to the problem. Finding out how we can break away from the government, break away from whoever is supposedly victims and making us feel oppressed. We need to break away and have our own, so we don't have to rely on anybody. And it's really important for Black men to learn how to fish, hunt, grow fruits and vegetables. My son is 18 and he knows how to grow fruits and vegetables. And I think it's important for those skills to be instilled, because without those skills, we're always going to rely on the quote unquote oppressor. And we need to break those chains. It's not a Republican thing. It's not a Democrat thing. It's a get the hell off the plantation thing and do it for yourselves. And that's
for sure. Because one of the things that I constantly teach people all the time about racism. How do you stop it? Or some people saying you can't stop racism. Racism is dependent upon the oppressed needing the oppressor. The moment I don't need you, you cannot be racist towards me.
That's right.
So if I'm self-sufficient in every area, you know, if I don't need you to police me, you can't over-police me. Right. If I don't need a loan from your bank, then you can't be predatory towards me. Yeah. If we got all the land, then you can't redline me. If I'm teaching my own children, then you can't miss or undereducate. So there's absolutely no way for you to be racist against me if I control every part of my being. And that's what we're working on right now. We're working on controlling every part of Black life in a specific area in Philadelphia, with the goal to spread that out through every Black area in Philadelphia and then taking it further.
Yes.
That's dope.
And then take that shit over to Chicago, because Chicago, they need help.
Off the chain.
It is.
But we definitely appreciate you joining us and talking about all of the things that you have going on. After the live is over, we're definitely going to leave a link in the description to your book. If you have a direct link for the website where people can purchase the book, inbox that to me, and then I'll make sure I put that in the description as well.
Definitely.
And you know, I hope that you can come back on the show and let us know all of, you know, the update of all the stuff that you have going on. I know you were looking for some contractors to help you with the cement project. I don't know the exact term. So
you want to create the dream village for the youth.
Okay, that's what's up.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
All start.
No more. Our goal with the dream village is for no more Black children to hit an age where they got to be realistic and lose your dreams. That's I know everybody I know, by the time you're 12, 13 years old, those big dreams you had to get realistic. And we want dreams to be realistic. The same vision you had when you was 4, we want you to still be able to dream that big and have a place where we can foster your dream and turn that into a plan. So it's not just something that you wish that you could become, but that we're helping you become that. And so we wanted to have a space where, like, you know, some days you might be feeling down, you might not feel like you can accomplish it, but when you come here, you're in the dream village, and we're going to pour everything into you to make sure that you're able to accomplish everything that you dream to be.
Yeah, I love that. That's a wonderful idea. Definitely.
Thank you.
You don't need government handouts, people. You can do it yourself. You don't need everything that we do. You don't need it. It takes us. We are the people. We have money. We have resources. We need to pull together and get things done. And so we can stop complaining about all these imaginary boogeymen that are oppressing us and keeping us from living our lives when honestly they're stopping us.
They're not imaginary now.
They're not imaginary, but it's to a point where, like, you know, I know you gotta go, but it's to a point where we feel like we can't do anything. And you can do stuff. It's not, no one is keeping you locked in your house. You can't move forward. So yeah, I really appreciate that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us on the live, and we will definitely want to have you back.
Definitely. Just reach out to me and let me know when.
All right. Yeah, we appreciate
Thank you
it.
so much for coming on, and keep doing what you're doing. And thank you. That's all I have to say.
Great day.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
And I accept your apology.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, guys.
So, Joe, how are you feeling? I know that you mentioned in the beginning that you were only joining us for a short time. So, how are you feeling? Are you ready to log off now?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna do that because I'm pretty sure y'all would rather hear more of the podcast and less of me coughing. So
thank you for muscling through. And
no doubt. Yeah, it's time for me to go take some drugs and
drugs.
Chill out. But yeah, you know, I'm pretty sure y'all in good hands. Y'all gonna hold it down.
We're gonna hold down.
And you know, when you have those questions like, what would Joe say in this moment, then you can come up with it. Bam.
Well, go in the comments. If you're not going to be on the live, go in the comments and talk to us.
Oh yeah, I could do that. Yeah.
All right. Well, MelBee talking about this happiness situation.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Over there.
All right.
Joe is sick, y'all. That's why he's leaving. But me and B gonna stay with y'all.
All right.
Bye, Joe.
Feel better. Hi, Mel.
Hi. So we're here. So let's talk about it. Okay, let's talk about this whole like happiness. The title of the video, even though we're like we've been online for 30 minutes, so we just now getting to the topic, but our faithful watchers are here through the whole thing. We not worried.
That's right.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about this topic because I've been seeing a lot of different memes and questions about people like putting you know, is a person making me happy in a relationship as a reason, you know, as a top priority.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? What do you think? Do you think it's someone else's responsibility to make you happy in a relationship?
I mean, not at all. I feel like you're responsible for your own happiness. I feel like people do add to it though. Like, you know, you might meet someone that just brings a different type of joy out of you, which I think is perfect. Like, but you're responsible for your own happiness, 100%. So that's why, like, when you brought up the Jada and Will Smith thing, and she was saying, "Oh, I wasn't happy," but you're responsible for that. Like, whatever's going on in your mind, whatever's going on in your heart, you have to find out why you're not happy. A man, a woman, a drug, an extra job, money, nothing will make you happy but you. So, what's your take on that?
I actually agree with that. I feel like, but on the flip side of that, it's like, you know, if a person is not responsible for my happiness, are they also not responsible for my unhappiness in a relationship? Because I've been in situations or relationships where I just was not happy at all with the person. And I feel like I was happy within myself, but it was just something like we wasn't clicking, you know, it wasn't working at all. And I feel like, yeah, it's important for me before I enter a relationship to be whole. You know, and to not look for someone else to fill some type of void or, you know, validate me or make me feel better, so to speak. But I also feel like if I'm already in control of that prior to the relationship, then it's easier for me to pick up on whether this person is not a good match, you know, for me. Like if he's throwing stuff off and like he's throwing off my schedule, he's like he's codependent, like he always wants me to be like, maybe he's looking at me to fulfill his happiness or to bring happiness to his life. And I feel like, you know, both it's half the battle when you know for yourself, like I'm in charge of my happiness. The person that you're with has to also know that. You know, because if they don't, they're going to be looking to you like, okay, you got to do X, Y, and Z. You got to give me threesomes. You got to be cooking and cleaning and you got to do everything. And that's what's going to make me happy. But that's not the case. I feel like that's why there's a lot of infidelity in relationships because, you know, I'm not just going to put it on women, like you say, like we mentioned, Jada, she was not happy, you know, and she looked at it as she wasn't happy in her marriage. So she looked for somebody outside of the marriage to bring that to her, you know. But if people are always looking for somebody else to make them happy, nobody will ever be faithful, ever.
Right. You're absolutely right. Like we both, you know, mentioned and agreed on that happiness is within. So if you're not a happy person, then you're not going to be happy with anybody. That's my opinion. Now, I can say that people do change your mood. Like sometimes I could be in a down mood and I might call you or my mom or my kid or whoever. And yeah, so they make me happy. But when I hang up the phone, it's like, oh, what was, you know, you go right back into it. So for that moment, they might change you. And I think that's where the cheating comes in, like with the whole Jada, anybody's relationship. They're looking for happiness. They're looking for that quick fix. So while you're with that person, you feel good. But once you go back home, it's right back to, you know, not being happy or whatever you're dealing with at home. So happiness is important. Mental health is important. And I think, especially in the Black community, that's something that we're lacking. There's nothing wrong with getting help. There's nothing wrong with a counselor. There's nothing wrong with it. Everybody goes through traumas and people need help and an outlet. So those are the things that will eventually make you happy if you're not, so you can have a healthy relationship.
And that's why I think it's important to like have hobbies outside of your partner. Like, of course, you want to meet someone that you have similar interests with and you're compatible, right? But having hobbies, like for me, you know, I have a lot of hobbies. Just recently I started like with the waist bead thing, and I wasn't like, you know, intentional. I just wanted some waist beads, you know, but while I was doing it, I was like, wow, this is fun, you know. And if I was in a relationship, you know, I wouldn't expect my mate to be sitting there doing waist beads with you know, like while he's out watching the game or doing fishing or whatever, growing a garden. You know, I would just be doing my own thing. And I feel like that's super important too, because like Jada mentioned, and I hate to keep referring back to, but these
people, everybody knows like what's going on. So I think it's a perfect reference. But go ahead.
Yeah. The reason why I wanted to keep bringing them up is because a lot of people have not, especially our age, people have not been with the same person for 25 freaking years. Okay. So, you know, people end up in situationships 2-3 years and it's a dub. 5-10 years, it's over. Right. It's like 25 years is a long time. And at that point, if you're still looking for another person to bring fulfillment to your life, that's how you know it's time to go to therapy. It's not time to be sitting there trying to therapeutic yourself. Right. You know, maybe you need an outside opinion that's going to tell you, listen, these are your flaws. These are things that can probably help you on your journey to stop looking for your partner to fill every space of your existence, you know?
Right. And you're, you know, like what you said, 25 years, if you feel like you need happiness outside the marriage, therapy, like you said, I don't, you know, celebrities, they live a different type of life. So like, I think Joe mentioned earlier that they had an open marriage, or maybe you, where they were swingers and all of that. Yeah. So I think what happened, I think they were okay with it, but it got out. So they had to like cover it up. And that's just the bottom line. Me, I'm not a swinger. So if my husband or my wife, you hear me? If my husband stepped out.
Like, what's the key?
If my husband was to do something like that and have a relationship with someone else, then honestly, I can't even say after 25 years, how do you deal with that? Like, do you have the same heartbreak that you have when you're with a guy for a year or 2 months? You know, like that's a different type of heartbreak. That's a different.
I feel like when you in a marriage like that for a long time, it's like numerous.
Like, whatever, man. Like, you know, I think it's the same thing. It's like, all right, you cheated. Okay, next. Like, what you cooking?
Yeah, I feel like it's numerous heartbreaks that you know, go throughout the course of the marriage. And that's why you take the vows, like for better or worse. And, you know, till death do us part, because it's like, no matter what you, like Will was saying, no matter what you do, I'm here.
Right.
And I struggle with that, to be honest. I struggle with it because it's like at a certain point, once you keep disrespecting me, like either when I start plotting your death, you know what I'm saying? I'm serious. Like that's what my mind be going. Like I'd rather just leave, you know, and not really be dealing with that. Because I think in our group, Urban Universe, we actually had this discussion about, you know, who do you believe is the most forgiving in a relationship, and like when it comes to cheating?
Right.
And a lot of people said women, you know, like, and that's so unfortunate, like, because
we're wired that way. We're wired to be nurturers. We're wired to forgive. We're wired that way. Like our guest that we had earlier was saying that, you know, we're shaped by our environment. So it's natural for a woman to forgive a husband for cheating. But when a woman,
that must be Joe. What is that? So would you not date someone that is driven to making you happy? Of course. Like, because, yeah, I would, but I don't want him to feel like that's his dying wish, like, oh, I gotta make her happy. And because at the end of the day, you know, everything might not make me happy. I'm fickle. Like I might be happy with something one day and it's like, but I don't want you to feel like, oh, what you're doing is not enough. You know, like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think
that's how I know it's Joe. Look at what he said. That I'm a black widow.
She's not a black widow. I think that, you know, when you've been hurt a lot in relationships and you dating people and they're not meeting your expectations, they're not being consistent, it makes you tougher. It's just like being in the streets. Like the more you in the streets, the tougher you get. So, I mean, what else do you want us to do? You want us to just lay down and cry and take it? No, I'm gonna kill you. No, I'm just joking. I'm not gonna kill you. But it's like, you know, besides being abused in a relationship, cheating to me is like the worst thing you can do to a woman. Like, please, fellas, if you're gonna be out there cheating on your girl, make sure you do it with like a prostitute. I don't know, like a one-time thing that out in Vegas somewhere where she's never gonna find out, because that's like the most damaging thing you could do in a relationship. One of the most. And for a man, I don't know, like for a man to be cheated on and for her to like publicly put it out there. Well, she didn't, but she answered it publicly. I don't know. I don't think Will's gonna bounce back right. I just don't. I feel like he's gonna be forever looked at like a pussy. Seriously, especially if he doesn't go out and have a baby on her or leave her for a little while, he's gonna be looked at as a pussy at the end of the day. And Jada is probably looking at him like, look, I got him whipped. Look at him over there. You know?
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I don't know. You know, he said that's blood in your cup. She's drinking blood of her victims.
This is a goblet of blood. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's for the sacrifice later.
Exactly. I'll call you tonight as well. We can sit under the moon.
How can you be in love with someone and not feel accountable for their happiness? Maybe that's my problem. Like, I mean, I feel like if I can answer the question, you can answer. I feel like as long as I'm doing something out of love, like, and I'm saying, okay, I want to make him breakfast in bed, or I want to give him a foot soak and a massage and, like, you know, a spa treatment. You know, I'm doing that out of love because it's making me feel good, and the remnants of that is, of course, he's gonna feel good. But when you start doing things out of obligation, and it's like, oh, I gotta soak this dude's feet, and I don't really want to do it. He's not really gonna enjoy it, you know. I'm not enjoying it, and it's like, why even do it? You know, if neither one of y'all is getting satisfaction, it's more like a chore, you know.
I mean,
so that's why I say, go ahead.
No, you're right, but I also want to like disagree a little bit because I feel like in a marriage or a long-term relationship, you kind of like obligated. Like sometimes you do things that you're not like, you know, 100% willing to do. You do in relationships. That's give and take. Even with your kids. You know how many times I've taken my kids places and movies that I did not want to see because I want them to be happy. And I'll put on a happy face and I'll wear Mickey Mouse ears if I had to, just to make them feel happy. So in a relationship, it's the same thing. You're not obligated, but you should be. And that's a problem, I think. A lot of women and men don't feel like they should do things out of their comfort zone. If it's not disrespecting you and it's not harming you in any way, then yeah, sometimes you might want to do something to make another person happy. Like I mentioned before, like I used to make sure you never had dirty drawers. There was always a home cooked meal, you know, stuff like that. Some days I did not want to do it. And some days I was pissed off at him, but I still did it because I felt like, you know, this is what he needs and this is our routine. So to keep the peace, to make that other person happy, yeah, sometimes you got to do things out of your comfort zone that are just solely for someone else's happiness. I think that's a marriage. I think that's a relationship, you know. Like, you breaking up, man.
You have to make like a relationship.
You're breaking up a little bit, so I can't hear you.
Oh, I don't know. Okay,
now, there you go.
Okay. So I was saying that being in a relationship is almost like a self-sacrifice that has to happen.
It is. It definitely is. Because all the dating that you do in the beginning, all the courting that they do in the beginning, I mean, most men do court throughout the relationship. Some, not most. Some men court throughout the whole marriage, throughout the relationship. But in the beginning, it's just like a job interview. It's just like a job. You go in, you put your best foot forward, you're on your best behavior, but then later down the line, you know, it's like, whatever, I already got her, I already got him, I already got the job, I already passed my probation. So you start to like scale back a little bit. But yeah, I felt like I sacrificed a lot in, you know, my 2 long-term relationships. One was 10 years, one was 8 years. So, and I lived with both of them. And there was things that I did, you know, that I didn't want to do, but I did it to make that person happy. I did. And at the end of the day, if they're happy, then it's like, all right, you know, that's what it is. Same thing with men. I think they do a lot of things in the relationship that they they don't want to do. You know how many movies I go to that he's like, why am I sitting here watching Titanic? Why she got me watching Grease? Why, you know? And it's like, just watch it with me. You know how many times my kid's father sat with me to go get my hair braided? The 8 hours in the beauty salon. He doesn't want to sit there. Even though them Africans, they be having nice butts, so he got a little show. But, you know, they don't really want to sit there, but to make you happy, they'll do it. You know? So I think it's all about give and take. And, you know, if you see more give than take, then, you know, the relationship is not for you. But that's just a part of life.
Yeah. I think that's why it's important to have boundaries, because when you love a person, it's very easy. I know for me, in past relationships, I have given so much of myself to where I almost lost. I felt like I was losing my identity, you know, and I never want to be in that place again. Like, I feel like if I'm doing something out of love, it's because it's making me feel good to do it. One, that's the first, you know, boundary, to feel good while I'm doing whatever service. And also learn their love language, because their love language may not be me necessarily providing acts of service. It may be words of affirmation. You know, it may be words of affirmation. It may be, you know, touch or whatever. So learning your partner's love language is important, because they may not even receive love the way that you're giving it. Like doing laundry and and doing cooking breakfast, they may not perceive that as love. Yeah. For me, I wouldn't perceive that as love. My love language is like receiving gifts and words of affirmation. Okay. Those are my two top, you know, because there's 5. But my 2 top love languages are receiving gifts and words of affirmation. So if someone is doing a whole bunch of stuff and they're doing it with the hopes of trying to make me happy, of course it's going to be nice, but that's not how I'm going to perceive it. I'm not going to perceive it like, oh, he's doing X, Y, and Z because he loves me. Right. You know, if he's not telling me like words of affirmation, if he's not saying, Melissa, I love you so much, like, you know, you make me happy, or I enjoy spending time with you, like words, actual words, then I'm probably gonna, you know, perceive it a little bit different. So I feel like that's important, to know your partner, know how they perceive, you know, love, and then act accordingly, and hoping that it lines up with whatever your ideals of, you know, providing or giving, showing love.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely.
What
it's important not to lose yourself, like you said, in a relationship. You know, everything that I did in my relationships, I feel like that's just who I am. Like, that's just who I was. My kid's father, he, you know, we was together when I was young, so he kind of molded me into the woman or wife, quote unquote, that he wanted. So in my next relationship, I just carried on because I was just used to doing certain things. But you're absolutely right. Like, you shouldn't change yourself or be forced to do things out of your comfort zone to make someone else happy, because if it's not coming from the heart, especially for me, I don't want it. If it's not coming from the heart, if it's not genuine, you can keep that shit. And yeah, like, keep it, except for the money. No, I'm joking. No, you can keep it. Yeah, I'm not hard to make happy. I'm goofy, so that's who I am. That would never change. I don't care who I'm with. Like, you're gonna have to deal with my jokes and me being me. But all the other things that come along with it, I know sometimes people need to feel special. The same way we like to feel special, I feel like men need to feel special. Give him a spa day. Give him a day out of shopping or whatever he likes. If he likes smoking cigars or, you know, having a nice drink at the bar, I think that's something that we need to incorporate in relationships, because it's not just a one-way street at all. And men get fed up with us the same way we get fed up with them. So, you know, it's to, like I said, happiness comes from within, but a person that you really love can amplify that happiness to, like, oh my God, where you're like melting and just like butterflies in your stomach. So I want to give somebody butterflies.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like, sometimes giving you're in love. Let's talk about that. Like when you're in love, there is no bounds sometimes. Sometimes you just want to do anything that you do for a person just makes you feel good. Like, and just anticipating seeing a smile on their face or just receiving their gratitude makes you feel good. And I think that is always the incentive in the beginning. I have not been in a relationship for 25 years, so I cannot.
It's only 26. Wow.
I mean, I've been in a relationship with myself now for, I'm not going to tell you how many years, but I've been in a relationship with myself long enough to. What you say?
I said that finger action. You said you've been in a relationship by yourself.
Not that type of relationship, girl. But no, I mean, I think that it's important to be with someone that you enjoy doing things for.
Right.
Because there's gonna be a time when you may not feel like it. Not necessarily want to do it. Like, of course, you want to do it because you want to make them happy, but you may not feel like it. And it could be something so simple as, like, I don't know for a woman, but from a male's perspective, like putting gas in my car, like, maybe he doesn't feel good or, he doesn't want to, but he knows that I need it. So he's going to make that self-sacrifice to do it.
Right.
I feel like women, we have it a lot easier because, like I said, we have that nurturing and we're naturally make anyone that we love and care about feel good, and to the surface, right? But I also feel like for women to scale back a little bit sometimes and be selective. How much you giving. You don't want to give to the wrong person and be doing too much, and then you feel depleted because it's not being reciprocated. I feel like that's where a lot of women work, with trying to just give with the intention of, okay, if I do this, this is gonna make me want him more. Make him want me more.
Right.
And you shouldn't be giving for that. You should.
Mel is logging back in. I think she had a little issue. She's back. But go ahead. Mel. So, like what she was saying was that you should not do more. You shouldn't do anything for anybody with the intentions of getting something in return. So whatever you do, just do it from your heart. Know that self-love is the best love, and you were born by yourself. So, I mean, if you have to be by yourself, so be it. We're gonna wrap up today's show, and hope everyone has a good week. And I'm gonna leave you off with a positive affirmation, and that affirmation is to love yourself, respect yourself, and you are enough. No matter what anybody tells you, you are enough. And thank you for joining in, and thank you for our special guest that came in. And Joe, feel better, and I'll see you guys next week. Later.